Welcome to the Resume Storyteller, bringing you interviews with industry experts, regular folks who tested the job search waters and succeeded, and strategies to tell your story and land you job interviews. Here's your host, Virginia Franco.
Folks, I have with me today Mindful Career Path's Alicia Ramsdell. As the founder and CEO of Mindful Career Path, Alicia collaborates with clients to help them achieve career fulfillment. She brings to the table more than 15 years of experience in corporate America, where she mindfully pivoted from roles in accounting to career development. She is a certified career services provider, a global career development facilitator, and also holds a certificate in mindfulness-based stress reduction techniques. She brings insight around best practices in career development strategies and how to leverage stress to elevate your life's work. Alicia, thank you so much for joining me. The idea of mindfulness in career management did not even occur to me, honestly, until the pandemic. So I was so grateful that we were introduced and you were able to come on to share your wisdom.
Virginia, I appreciate this opportunity. And you're right, I don't think many people associated mindfulness and career development in the same sentence, let alone, a whole movement now. So again, I'm excited to talk about that today.
So could you give, you heard the bio that I just read, but would you mind sharing just a quick overview of what you do, what you do with your clients and your practice and how you came to be in this role? Because I'm sure that, this was not your dream when you were a little girl that you wanted to work in career and job search, because most of us did not.
No, absolutely not. And as you mentioned, I'm the CEO of Mindful Career Path. And what that is it's a practice that combines career coaching with mindfulness-based stress leveraging techniques. I feel as though career stress is inevitable in our careers for anyone, right, no matter the generation. And in my own experience, I had almost 2 decades in the financial services industry. And at that point, I pivoted and I left corporate America with a vision. And that vision was creating career development through vulnerability in our conversations, but also strategy through practical, and actionable exercises. And you alluded to it earlier, but I began my journey into this career development space after leaving, financial services industry. And I went through the process of attaining certain certifications, right? That certified career services provider, global career development facilitator, and also that mindfulness-based stress reduction techniques program. From that point on, I started Mindful Career Path actually in 2020. And my approach was I wanted to turn my own vision into reality, which was actually allowing ourselves to be vulnerable in our careers to authentically achieve career fulfillment moving forward.
So when you're talking about allowing yourself to be vulnerable, are you talking about sort of self-reflection and transparency where people, or are you referring to something else?
Yes, vulnerable with ourselves. So the self-reflection and the transparency with ourselves, but also as a leader in an organization, I also want the leaders to allow that vulnerability within conversations within the workplace, as far as, how can we get the best out of our employees for their own vision, but also aligning that with the organization's vision.
Okay, so you coach, your clients include leaders, and then do you also work with job seekers or?
Yeah, so my business is threefold, right? So in the practice, we offer career mindfulness, which is individual career coaching and document rewriting, so resumes, LinkedIn profiles, and that nature. We also offer up corporate mindfulness. So this is presented as an employee benefits program with group workshops and one-on-one employee development conversations. And then lastly, we offer up an on-demand digital course subscription. And this is for more of a self-directed approach to career development, depending on what you need.
Oh, I love that. So sort of self-paced, perfect. So you have shared a lot of fantastic advice on managing workplace stress. And as you said, it's regardless of age, it's something that we feel. And I don't see it ever going away. I mean, I've lived through the, 9/11 recession, pandemic, and today it seems like layoffs are in the news every day. You get whiplashed with this stuff. Um, do you feel like workplace stress is getting worse year over year, or is it always in place but different stressors cause it? And can we avoid it?
So I
Or should we
believe
avoid
workplace,
it?
yeah, yeah. I wish there was a way to avoid it, but I don't think there is. And I believe
Okay.
workplace stress has been there, it's currently here, and it will always be there. And just given the day or the year, it's all relative. So as a story, I remember interviewing a woman who was very successful in the sports industry, and she started out her career in the 1980s, and the sports industry then was predominantly male leaders and employees.
Mhm.
So even with her success, she experienced all sorts of stress through sexism. And if I sat down with my parents or think back to my own days in corporate America, or even speaking to college students today working in their internships, stress is inevitable. And given that the times we're in, like you mentioned, between the pandemic and now layoffs, this is our generation's relevant factors of stress
Yeah.
in our careers. And I don't believe that any given time or situation is easier to deal with from a stress
No,
perspective.
you're right. I mean, there's war times and the Great Depression. You're right. Historically, there's always been something.
Right, exactly. And I'm a firm believer in asking ourselves, not so much if we're not, if there's a way for us not to experience stress, but rather ask ourselves if we have the right tools to leverage that inevitable stress.
To get some resiliency.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay. Okay. So, how does mindfulness help us cope with workplace stress? Just tell me foundationally how that works. Because again, I always think of mindfulness when you're exercising or when you're at home. I'd love to hear
Sitting
your thoughts on
cross-legged
the
on
role of
the
that. Yeah,
sitting
exactly.
cross-legged on the floor,
That's
meditating.
right, right, with your hands in that
Yeah.
that that Om position. Yeah.
And so mindfulness gives everyone the opportunity to be in the present moment, right? Not concerned about the fallout from past actions, right? We can talk about past career actions, or worried about what could happen in the future. So when I speak with clients, what I like to do from a career perspective is we try to determine their common causes of career stress. And then based on that individual's details of whatever their stress is caused by, we try to work through constructing practical application of mindfulness-based stress leveraging techniques. And now I say leveraging rather than reducing, because I like to think of my clients rather than trying to run away from stress. I like to think of them running through that stress and coming out stronger on the other side. And I go through a number of exercises, and we can talk about those too. But the number of mindfulness exercises that I work through with my clients, the goal here is to help them be grounded in the present moment, right? Reduce blood pressure, reduce your heart rate, and get you to more of a neutral or even a relaxed state, even during those high times of stress.
Because it's that. So you're saying you can't go around stress. You have to go through it.
Exactly.
And how are you good? Okay. All right. So speaking of techniques, I know that I saw a post that you wrote about a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding technique. You also reference box and I'm going to say this wrong, diaphragmatic breathing and mindful wake up. Say that word again.
Diaphragmatic.
Diaphragmatic. Okay. So I know that this is, probably takes hours to teach this stuff, but if you could give me a high level overview of some techniques that somebody might be able to take away and apply after listening to this podcast, what are some that you might recommend?
Sure. So an example of a time when a client will tell me that they experience a lot of stress is when they have to go in to a meeting with senior leaders, right? Or potentially even when they're giving a presentation. So a lot of the times they'll say, I'm concerned with what if I don't say the right thing, or what if they ask questions and I don't know the answer, or one particular individual is loud and will kind of yell back, if not in necessarily a negative way, but they were just loud and just their voice, and that makes somebody uncomfortable. So as an example, the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique, what you would do is you would stop where you are, and to ground you in the present moment, you would look around and you would say out loud or in your head, what are 5 things that you can see? And then you go ahead and you list 5 things that you can see. And then what are 4 things that you can touch? And you would actually touch them. So like a desk, a laptop, whatever it is. What are 3 things that you can hear? And then you're going to look around and say, all right, what are 2 things that I can smell? And then what is 1 thing that I can taste? And if you go through this process, you cannot think about what happened in the past or potentially could happen in the future. So again, going through this, you're grounding yourself in the present moment, and that intentionally allows you not to stress yourself out about this upcoming presentation that you're walking into.
That's and so you conduct that before you go in to have this conversation. Okay. Do you think this technique works with Zoom?
Yes, I do it before I start podcast recordings.
Okay.
Just to, and not so much about, sometimes, yes, a lot of the times it's about stress, but just to settle any anxious feeling, any nerves. It just allows you to say, all right, why am I here right now? This is why I'm here, and this is what I'm going to do. And I can't worry about anything I have to do after this or anything that I've done before this. And it sounds simple, and it almost sounds
it does sound so simple.
Yeah.
But it's engaging all of your senses, right?
Exactly. And the other stuff, like the box breathing or the diaphragmatic breathing, that's about being focused and paying attention to something, which in this case, we're talking about our breath. And there's also a simple flashlight exercise where every time you lose focus of your breath, acknowledge where your mind went, right? So maybe you started to think about that meeting. Think about a flashlight leaving the spot of the breath, turning away to look at that meeting that you were stressed out about, and say, okay, I acknowledge that. Let me bring that flashlight back to focus back on my breath. So it, again, grounds you in that moment, in that focal point.
So visualize like a spotlight that has left the breathing focus, and
exactly,
and then acknowledge it. Okay.
Yeah. And then the other one of the ones that you mentioned that I wrote about were mindful wake-ups. So I had to make this transition myself years back, where when I first woke up, I was waking up and I was automatically, because I use my phone as an alarm, I would automatically look at my phone. And in doing so, I was going to my email. So I was kind of going in panic mode with figuring out, okay, this is what other people's priorities are, and they're sending them to me. And now because I've looked at my phone, I'm now making other people's priorities my own priorities. Or I would look at social media, and it automatically, instead of starting at 0, you're starting at let's call it -20, where instead now I removed my phone from my morning wake up process. And when I wake up, I start at 0, and I'm trying to go into the green, right? Go into the positive. So I've set up a certain structure of my morning, right? I wake up, I meditate, I work out, I shower, I get myself ready, I get my kids ready. And this is all before I will even look at my phone, because everything that I just said were my priorities. My health is my priority. My children and my family are my priority. And after that, my work and other things will be my priority. But it's not until I've achieved that first set of goals before I move on to, that next priority.
And what does that extra time give you? It lets you be in a place where you're ready to receive the priorities.
Exactly. Yes, receive the priorities. And I'm in a better, talking about receiving priorities, I'm in a better place to respond and engage with the people that are on the other end. So whether that's clients, whether that's business partners, whomever it is, right? Even if you're a student and you're responding to a teacher or a classmate, you're going to be in a better position to respond in an appropriate manner, and whatever appropriate means in that moment.
Like how long? I think about, exercising. I mean, this could take like 3 hours. Getting a good exercise, showering. Do you feel like a minimum a 45-minute mindful wake up period is suitable to get yourself ready, or is everyone different?
Sure. So I actually read a book, and I'm trying to think. I think it was called Peak Minds, and this woman, a doctor, went through, or a scientist, someone that knew what she was talking about. She went through this process of understanding, okay, how long do you need to go, through meditation for it to actually be effective? And you can always go longer, but what's the minimal amount? And after her whole research, she went through, she confirms that you need about 12 minutes of meditation. And then from there on out, if you add more to it, all the better. But if you can go through 12 minutes of meditation at the start of your day, that's what's going to allow it to be effective. For me, I like to get in the physical activity as well. So then I'll work out, let's call it 30 minutes. So if you just say 12 minutes plus 30, that's right there. That's about 45 minutes. So
exercise is meditation. That was my guess. I was wondering.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's super helpful. Now, the box and diaphragmatic breathing, that is like, what is it, like 4 deep breaths? And is it like a 4-2-4 thing?
Yeah. So box breathing, if you think of a box, right, a square with equal sides, think breathe in through the nose for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, breathe out through your mouth for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, and then you repeat this process. And the diaphragmatic breathing, if you imagine just like an initial way to do it, if you're laying down on your back and you put one hand on your chest and one hand on your stomach, breathing in and out, but only having your stomach raise rather than, rise and fall without having your chest rise and fall, right? So you're taking these deeper, longer breaths through that process.
Are they both equally powerful, or do you prefer box to the other?
I feel as though box breathing is something that you can kind of do on the go. So, before when I was taking a commuter rail, I could, or a train to and from work, I could do box breathing on the train. For me, diaphragmatic breathing, there's many ways you could do it. You can do it sitting down. I happen to like doing that while I'm laying down. So that's more of a commitment.
Okay. Well, these are so helpful because they're easily incorporated into your day. And a couple of them, like the by 4, 3, 2, 1 and the box breathing, you can do it anywhere, any place and anywhere. So helpful. Right. Thank you.
And the fact that it's accessible is what makes them not seem so overwhelming to handle something like stress that can feel so overwhelming. So it's you're combating, something that's overwhelming with something that's easy.
That's right. That's right. No, I love that. And it doesn't cost any money, right?
It's all free.
You have written before about energy drainers and then energy givers. Can you define those for us? And, I guess let's just start with what are those?
Sure.
In terms of the impact on our stress level and well-being.
Yeah. So energy givers are, if you think about it, the element in our lives that drive us to do things and enhance the decisions that we make. So anything, but we're talking about careers here, life activities or career activities that give you energy rather than take it away. And that's, I mean, pretty self-explanatory when I say it like that, but that's an energy giver. And then the life activities that take your energy away are the energy drainers. And I can talk about how I walk through with clients and how to define what those are specifically.
Yeah, and it's just to figure out. So many people, self-included here, are not always sure that I am aware that something is sucking the life from me versus energizing me. Unless it's really obvious. So yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Sure. So journaling is just something that's easy. We all have a notebook and a pencil and just start writing. And when I say that, I look to clients to journal daily. And I think it's a key component in defining what your energy givers are. And in this generation, a lot of people will automatically go down to our laptop or our phone and start typing things in. But there is a certain power derived from writing things down, our own thoughts, our own self-reflections, our experiences, rather than writing it or typing it in a laptop. I think more from a memory perspective. But
what about voice memos? No?
Yeah. The writing down seems to be the most effective, more from a memory perspective. But whatever way you can get the journaling in, I'll take what I can get as the person. But taking time each night, like think about it this way: taking time each night before you go to bed to pinpoint the day's moments. Right, write down the activities that you led with the most energy, and then write down activities that you felt you lacked energy. And then also write down any interactions with either activities that you've completed or even people that drained your energy. And if you repeat this process every night and then you revisit this whole energy story weekly, you can say, all right, what's the common thread through all of the stuff I wrote down as energy givers? And then what's the common thread through all of the energy drainers?
You see patterns.
Exactly. Where did my career energy come from, and what poked holes in my career energy? And then you would just take that thread with those common energy givers and try to needle more of that into opportunities that bring you career fulfillment. So just as an example, I came from an accounting and tax background, and when I started to determine this wasn't the right fit for me, but what did I want to do and where did I want to go, I noticed as I started to journal that the best days that I had, or the most energy, came from when I was talking with and helping college interns that came through our company go through their career development, having conversations about why they were there, why they were in that company, what are they liking about their roles, what did they imagine it was going to be like, could I introduce them to anybody? I really enjoyed those times. I didn't necessarily enjoy, researching new tax codes or tax codes, right? So what I tried to do was, again, needle more career development work opportunities within where I currently was in my career. And so I would raise my hand within my office to say, yeah, I want to be that person that partakes in the lunch and learn, to talk to the college interns about a day in the life of, or give them career development guidance. So that's just where I started. But that's just one example of how you can journal and then have it translate into leading to more career fulfillment.
How long do you recommend someone journal to sort of get these ahas, or do you just keep doing it until the patterns pop up to this, or bubble up to the surface?
I think it's always effective to journal, and here's why. Even if you're not looking for an aha moment, even if you were just saying, I want to keep track of my accomplishments, that's helpful for if you're working at a big company that, has their annual performance reviews, right? So then you can look back at this journal to say, okay, what have I achieved I don't know about many people, but sometimes I forget what I had for lunch yesterday.
Right.
Never
Okay.
mind, what did I do?
Journaling has a lot of other benefits besides
Exactly.
helping you figure out those aha.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm taking notes here so I remember all of this. So you have written about the power, shifting to job search now. You have written about the power of networking as an effective job search tool. Can you speak to why you feel that it's so and steps that you recommend people follow to get ready for this and to execute?
So I think that through authentic conversation, you ultimately build relationships. And a big part of relationships, be that in networking for your career or even personal relationships, is determining through that conversation and spending time together if there is a fit. And once you determine through conversation that there's a fit, you will know if this relationship or career choice is worth pursuing, right? Is this going to be an energy giver? Is this going to be an energy drainer? And when I think about somebody's career, if you want to pursue a job opportunity, I consider the most effective way to network is to learn, teach, offer, follow up, and repeat. And I can kind of walk through each one of those if you'd like.
Yeah, please do. All right. So teach, offer.
So learn, teach, offer, follow up, repeat.
So those are so that's 5 steps. Okay. So yeah, walk me through this process, this cycle.
Sure. So learning is putting the energy into researching companies that you want to pursue, not just the companies, but then also people that work within these companies. And then
so who who you need to know, all of that based on whatever your target is. Okay.
Exactly. So then teaching, so in having conversations with these individuals that are in your target companies that you've listed out, and when asked, teach them about what you do, right? Teach them about where you deliver value.
What is offer?
And then offering is offering up a helping hand, right? So if you're in these networking conversations, offer, if they're looking for it, an introduction to somebody in your network, or maybe offer up an effort to have them use your area of expertise, right? Whether they have questions themselves, or maybe they need help with a small project or a volunteer opportunity, but offer up a helping hand.
Okay. That way it's
follow up and repeat.
Two-way discussion, right?
Exactly.
Or a relationship, right? And then follow up is.
So follow up is just what you think is. Yeah. Have multiple. You're going to have multiple conversations in authentic networking and communicating. It's not just going to be one conversation. And if it's from a job seeker's perspective, you're not just going to have one conversation and then get a job, right? So following up and having real conversations post your original one will be helpful in building on your relationship. And then repeat. And I don't necessarily mean repeat that with the same person over and over again. I just mean repeat this process with as many people that you want to learn from and within companies that you would be interested in engaging with. And sometimes it's not even the original companies that you were considering. Sometimes it's competitors of those companies, because the more you learned about them, you started to learn about their competitors, or, kind of partnering organizations that they work with. And so you start going down that avenue of learning about those organizations. But the more you repeat this process with as many people that you're interested in talking to, the larger the career opportunity space will look at that point.
Well, you never know where that process will take you, right? Especially the more you repeat it.
100%.
Yeah. So what advice might you give someone who is thinking about initiating a job search? I always think there's 2 different kinds of people. You have the people that have been job searching and it's not going well, and then those who are proactive in trying to lay forth a plan.
So you've heard me say a lot throughout this conversation, the word energy. And I think it's just that. I think it's bring your energy. we are all capable of going through the motions based on what experts tell us are the best job search strategies, right? We listen to podcasts, we can read books, we can learn from the experts. But if you're not committed to bringing your energy into the career opportunities that you're pursuing, the companies and the individuals on the other end are going to sense that and potentially choose somebody else. So again, bring your energy is the best piece of advice I could give someone.
And is it possible to bring your energy if it's an area that is naturally a drainer for you? Or is that a clue that this is not the right role because you're not able to bring your energy?
That's, again, let me take a step back. It is a privilege to be able to pick and choose what you want to do in your career. So I'm not saying that this option will always be out there. If this option is out there and you can work through a number of roles to say, is this the right fit? Is this not the right fit? And if this has a lot of energy drainers, I have the opportunity to leave it and try to pursue something else. If you have that opportunity and you are privileged with that, my ideals for everybody would be that we're working in an energy giving situation. But again, I do understand that it's a privilege and I don't expect that. Unfortunately, I don't expect everybody has that opportunity, given life circumstances.
Sometimes you're in a spot where you just have to take what you can take.
Exactly.
What you can get. Okay. All right. Now that is helpful. Well, that's a perfect segue for my next question, which is, there are many people who are, have multiple skills and they're very diverse, and they I'm sure, come to you, they come to me with being very open to what kinds of roles they want to explore. And they're really nervous about sort of limiting their options. And so they'll say, well, I don't want to close myself off to anything. So I'm open to anything. What are your thoughts on that? And what guidance do you have for those kind of people?
Well, I'm a big fan of getting your voice out there with your core career message, right? LinkedIn specifically as an example, that's an excellent platform to voice your message. So whether it's through daily posts, written articles, connections, messaging. And I believe that we all have a diverse set of skills, right? None of us are the same. We each have our uniqueness to us, but it's whether or not we can articulate this to our audience, which is the greater goal. And with that being said, if you want to keep all your options out there based on your unique set of skills, no matter how diverse they are, I strongly encourage my clients to create their own ideal job description. So rather than being pigeonholed into a certain title, I want their experience in their ideals to be a part of their core message. So what does that mean? So if you look at, 10 or more job descriptions of things that you think you would be interested in, and you just pull out the job responsibilities that you read that you would be excited to wake up every day and do, and you put those all down on one piece of paper, what you're doing here is you're combining the job responsibilities you would be interested in doing and making it your own. So again, let's say you had a marketing background, but you were potentially working in the financial services industry, so you got some finance experience, and then you really enjoyed the work that you saw the sales team doing based on how creative they could be in their language, and they got to get out there and talk to different individuals. You could take a marketing role, a finance job description, and a sales job description, pull out only the responsibilities that you would want to do every day, put it together in one ideal job description, and have that be a part of your core message, right? Here's the unique value that I'm going to deliver, because not only are you going to share these are the ideal responsibilities I would like to complete for an organization, but oh, by the way, this is how I've been successful at them in the past. So again, it's not pigeonholing yourself into one title, but rather than to an experience where you would be excited to take on certain responsibilities. And as you mentioned at the beginning of of this question, it's not going to limit their options necessarily.
So let's say you merge the parts of job postings that you like and you create this, dream job situation. Are you saying when you're making it part of your core messaging during the learning portion, or excuse me, the teaching portion of the networking process where you're having conversations in your target and when asked so that they understand where you add value?
Exactly. So usually in a networking conversation, let's say we start off and we learn about the other person on the other end of the phone, and then they say, tell me a little bit more about you. And that's when you can say, you know what, I'm really looking forward to a job where I can do X, Y, Z, whatever those ideal responsibilities are for you. And then you can talk about, in my past, I've been able to accomplish these things in this way. And then when we can clearly articulate to our network what it is we want, they're better able to serve us in the sense that they can say, you know what, my company doesn't really do something like that, but I have a friend over at this much larger company where they offer up a lot of room for going from role to role, or combining.
Or a startup where you get to wear many hats or something like that.
Exactly.
Yep. Okay.
And
I like that because, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I heard a quote in a podcast recently, and I'm going to, hopefully I don't butcher his name, but Vishen Lakiani. And if it's okay with you, I'd love to read it because I think it perfectly goes into this topic. But he said, your business, your job, your career is nothing more than a vehicle for your growth and the life you want to lead. Most people get more clear on the job, I want to be a lawyer, rather than on how they want to grow and the quality of life they want to lead. Flip it around. You've got to get really clear on the lifestyle. What do you want to do first thing in the morning? Or who do you want to be with? How much time do you want to spend with your kids? Who are your friends? Where do you want to live? Get clear on the quality of life, the values you want to have, and your ideal job will follow.
Well, what I was going to say is that, sort of, this person put it much more eloquently, is that you're helping it to manifest.
Exactly. Yes.
I remember that book. Was it The Wish or something? It came out like years ago, and it basically was like, if you articulate exactly what you want, it will manifest. I think it was called The Wish. It was a little book with some red on it, I remember. And I said, I need a job where I can, I didn't even know what remote work was back then. I used to say, I need a job where I don't have to pay childcare. That was as far as I got. And literally the idea of online writing came to me from there.
Yeah, it's so true. We can manifest our ideals. But again, you have to bring that energy to
yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe I should have been a little bit more specific in my articulation, but I wish I talked to you back then. So I want to shift gears a little bit and ask you a question around discrimination, because there's always lots of talk about, the discrimination that people face during the process and what goes on and as part of hiring practices. And there's lots of isms, right? There's ageism and sexism and all of it, racism. Is that something that you are coaching your clients on, and how do you help them to navigate this?
So discrimination is unfortunately still a part of the hiring practice. And I do not believe there's necessarily a one size fits all to handling discrimination in the hiring practice. However, what I work through with clients is acknowledging their concerns prior to the application process or their interview process, and then walk through why they think the hiring manager's discrimination, like in this case, is not as a non-starter. So as an example, if a client says, I'm concerned about my older age being a factor in the hiring process, say, okay, let's discuss what would make an older candidate less effective than a younger candidate. And if the client comes back and says, okay, well, I think it's because of technology. I think that's going to be a big concern. They won't think I'm up to date. And I say, okay, how can we show that you are proactive and staying up to date on the latest technology and platforms? And then the next step really is going over, now let's discuss what would make you as an older candidate more effective than a younger candidate, right? Whether that's you bring certain years of experience or whatever the case may be. So what we're doing through this process is starting to focus in on what makes this individual the right fit rather than concerning what makes them the wrong fit. And we're addressing these preconceived ideas in the hiring process.
You are coming up with right off the bat ways to mitigate these biases or this discrimination from happening, hopefully right off the bat. And I imagine with unconscious bias, that can be really effective.
Yeah, and I think, again, similar to the stress conversation we were having before, the natural tendency is to run away from this thought, right? I don't want to deal with stress, so I'm going to try to not get in stress way. Or I don't want to deal with the discrimination piece, so I'm just going to try not to think about it and hope for the best and hope they won't discriminate. But again, certain things are inevitable. And so rather than try to run away from it, let's try to run through it by being prepared in our conversations and our knowledge.
Right. And you just gave some examples of things that those are easy things to put on your career marketing collateral to maybe even avoid some of these conversations right off the bat.
Yes. Yeah.
Show that you're tech savvy on your resume easily.
Right. Exactly. So you can figure out how to articulate not just through your conversation, but on your documentation and through your online presence like LinkedIn.
Right. Okay. Well, Alicia, gosh, I'm looking at the time and I've taken up 45 minutes of your busy day. Thank you so much. But I want to close out by asking what is next for you. We are recording this at the end of October. It'll probably come out towards the end of the year or before the end of the year. What's on your agenda for 2023?
So Mindful Career Path continues to build out our business as an employee benefits program offering. So if you're an executive in your company and you're looking to give a voice for your employees, far beyond that annual employee pulse survey, your organization can work with Mindful Career Path, offer up career development and mindfulness conversations to its employees. And this will help in attracting and retaining top talent. And then the other thing that we're offering right now is a limited job seeker offer, which is called the Job Seekers Paradise. And this effort combines our one-on-one career coaching with our on-demand digital career development course subscription. So through this, what we're doing is we guarantee you'll receive a job offer within 90 days. And if you don't, we offer to work with you for an additional 90 days at no additional charge.
Is that being offered right now?
That's being offered right now. But because of the intensive nature, we have to limit the number of candidates or clients that we can work with at a certain time. But once we reach our max for that given period, we just add people to a waiting list, and then it will eventually open up for everybody, depending on the time.
That is tremendous. Okay, so people want to get in touch with you, learn more. I have shared on your bio a link to your LinkedIn, your website, which is mindfulcareerpath.com, as well as your email. Are those the best places to connect with you, or are there any others that you want to share here?
I'm always on LinkedIn. And if you go to mindfulcareerpath.com, all of my social media links are there as well. And, everything is there between my email address, my social media links, and even my phone number. So anyone can reach out to me at any point. If anything that we talked about today sparked your interest, between myself and between Virginia, we have a lot of knowledge to share with clients. So, please reach out to one or both of us.
Well, Alicia, thank you so much. This was so educational, and you have given people several tools in their toolkits that are free of charge and easy to apply in any setting. So super valuable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Virginia. Again, I appreciate you having me on, and I continue to wish you the best and success with this podcast, because you're sharing a lot of information that I have learned from, and I know that when I'm speaking with my own clients, I talk to them about your podcast and suggest that they, or recommend that they listen as well to gain as much insight as I have.
Oh, goodness. Well, thank you so much. That means a lot.
You've been listening to The Resume Storyteller with Virginia Franco. To learn more about storytelling strategies to catch the eye of today's online skim hiring and decision makers, please visit www.virginiafrancoresumes.com.